Willkommen. Welcome to Play and Explain number 2. Trying to play 500 now. We're trying to get 4 tables on the go. We're just looking for like tables that are playable, basically. I mean, this table's playable, but it's kind of the equivalent of giving GG, giving GG like $10 or something per hour, maybe probably more. So yeah, we won't be doing that. We've got a couple of hands just to start the session. So on the top left here, this is actually quite interesting because we have this like dynamic where there's this really short stack player. So we're actually going to open just a bit bigger because the SPR versus them is so low. It kind of doesn't matter. This guy overcalling is kind of weird. And on the bottom left, against this size, we're just mainly going to play a hands of core. We obviously have an easy fold here. Yeah. Maybe it isn't an easy fold here because like 2 overcards, he has a pair, possibly, but it depends how wide this player's range is, realistically. And here, he's got the mono board, he uses half pot on the mono board, so like, generally, because of his sizing scheme, our hand is like probably going to continue. However, like, usually we would want to have like pair plus draw in here. But like, because he's gone 20%, 50%, we're just generally going to continue the turn. There's even an argument for potentially making some moves with our hand, but there would have to be like some logical thought process behind it. So I don't think it makes sense to just randomly raise for no reason without like an idea of what the fuck you're doing. Blind for blind. This time we shall be going for the 4-bet. I don't think it's supposed to be 100% frequency, I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to probably do it 100%. And now we face this flop. Yeah, we can split our strategy. We could range check. There's a lot of different things we can do. I've been kind of looking about how we should play against a range check at the moment. So we're going to work it out. So here in this spot, we're actually going to be check raising overpairs somewhere between 30 and 50% of the time, with more focus on hands like this. Because it's a super connected board, we're going to use a smaller sizing. And on the more disconnected boards, we would size up. So if this was like, I don't know, 9-4 deuce, we would like want to go a bit like bigger. On these disconnected boards, we want to use a smaller check raise sizing. We could even go a little bigger than the size we used, but I'm just trying to keep it simple. On the top right, we will be isolating the recreational player. Based on the stats that I've had, we just have like a small sample kind of indicate that they're a fish. We don't really know like how bad they are. Multiple ways you can play this. I prefer in this spot to just generally check and decide on the turn. He should usually give us some indication of how strong his hand is on the turn. So yeah, now we're going to... it's interesting here because you could pressure... I think you can pressure like deuces, threes, fours and fives to fold by betting. And we actually get value from like things like 10-9 and Jack-10. So I probably would just bet here. There's an argument for showing down our hand as well, because if they go for check raise. However, the check raising range in this spot is usually just very strong, or it's a flush draw, and I don't really want to fuck with it. Because like, even if I hit my straight, I'm going to run into like some boats at a frequency, so we're just going to fold. Okay, top right here we opened 3BB with... I'm going to see about the flop half pot. I'll see if I can get some floats from like ace high and stuff. But yeah, we opened we opened 3 big blinds, and we do the 3 big blind open when there's recreational players, just because they tend to like call the big blind with just like too many bad hands. They generally defend the big blind somewhere between like with like 50 to 60% of hands. Obviously, you should be defending somewhere between like, you know, around 30%, depending on the sizing. And when I open 3BB, it probably doesn't change the range that they defend with that much. We're actually going to play a small bet here. As a probe, we don't know this player. And now on the river, since he's called, he will have some of these straights. He's also going to have a 10 quite a lot. He's not going to fold a 10. He's probably not going to have too many flushes. So we're going to size up a little a bet on the river, but we don't want to like use overbet necessarily. But I think our hand's probably going to be worth somewhere between this and small overbet. So we'll just use like this sizing. I don't know, it's like one of those spots really. And down here we actually cold 4-bet and we get jammed on by button. I do know that the population is over jamming hands like jacks and queens in this spot, which is just like generally something that I've picked up on how they play. But yeah, like I think our hand is just usually meant to fold here, so we're just going to fold. Okay, so we called a 3-bet pre-flop. We check the flop. Sorry, he bets the flop. I'm going to use, in case it's small, I'm going to call. I think our hand could also raise the flop. There is like, you know, some argument towards raising in this formation. Yeah, when he goes 25 half again, it's like a little sus. Generally in his early positions, on these like low boards when the overcard comes, it generally can be bet too much by the river. It's just that like most of his logical bluffs have a 10, but I don't think he's going to fire the river with like ace 10 clubs, ace jack clubs, king jack clubs. So I'm happy to just call again. But now on this river, he's just not going to have the bluffs now, I don't think. So we're just going to fold the river. Yeah, when he uses 25% 50, it's like not a theoretically a line you should really do, because like on the flop, when you use such a small sizing, your value range just generally wants to go bigger. So it could just be an exploit line by my opponent, an exploit line which would either be taken with value or with taken with bluffs. It's really hard to know what he's trying to do with that line, because I would expect players at this level to understand that when they use a smaller size in there, they're kind of giving up EV in some lines. So it's got to be like, I would imagine there's like some kind of plan there. It could also, we got ourselves a little pocket kings action here. We're going to squeeze. When the recreational's overcalling, I like this sizing generally. Multi-way, I don't think we want to check this board. I am just going to see bet for like around about a third. We are looking to jam brick turns here. The recreational player will probably just pull it in with like top ace queen super often, or 2-pair. We'll give him the option to run it twice, but ultimately I don't really care if he picks run it twice or not. Pair the board. Actually, pair it as a queen though, because it would be more funny. Jack, okay, not quite what I was looking for. The important thing is we played the hand correctly. That's what matters the most. Top left is quite interesting. We're going to play a leading strategy here. So here we're going to isolate the recreational player. We're going to expect them to overcall, so we could even go a little bit bigger pre-flop, to be honest, like 8 BB. I generally wouldn't advise going that much bigger unless they're exceptionally loose. We get cold 4-bet. I know our hand RNG jam versus cold 4-bet. I don't expect this player's messing around, complete unknown. I'll probably just call and see where we're at. Because like this is going to be fine to play in position. Flop, we will just flat our hand. We could play a raise and range here, but then we're going to have to commit to the pop in this line. It depends how much we get to realise our equity. Well, now we are feeling pretty good. I think in like cold 4-bet ranges, they generally are supposed to have some type of low frequency, things like 7-6. I just don't think it's happening now. So like here, I'm just going to call because I don't want him to fall, not bluff it off here. It's generally unlikely people bluff this spot by the river. But like, we do want him to have a hand like, yeah, I mean ace queen suited with our value jam. And he is going to have obviously the premiums, and maybe he'll bluff ace king. Yeah, we generally just don't want him to fast play here. Yeah, I mean it worked out. I was actually quite interested in that he cold 4-bet this hand, because I don't think this hand should be cold 4-bet in these formations, but obviously he might be expanding his range because I'm isolating a fish. So he might have been expanding his range to have to be, say, against like as if the fish was like opening from the button or the cutoff or something. So therefore ace queen would make more sense. Top left here we we decided to see that flop against this recreational player. I am actually going to try a strategy where I down bet the turn and then I will bluff the river. I'm now putting him on like these 7s, 8s and draw hands, and I really want to just pressure the range, so we're just going to go for 35 big blinds. But like he could have king x here quite often too. I think I would just try and make him fold these like non-king x hands and draw hands. He has king, which is fine. Ace king. Again, pretty surprised I hand didn't raise a turn, to be honest. So we'll just make a note this guy is like pretty passive in general with value hands. Pocket kings bottom left, let's see if we get anywhere. Top right we actually will play an aggressive 3-betting strategy against button. Like we will mix our hand even off like 135 beeps. When the players are on the button and there's recreationals in the blinds, they often raise wider. So when the recreational folds, like you're generally just against a wider range with less incentive to slow play. We just see bet the flop here out of position. On top left, we're gonna 3-bet the recreational player. Sometimes you just have to collect the small pots over and over again when you have good hands. Nope. So with knight 7, this board, our opponent we don't have any notes on, we just know that they're a reg. Yeah, there's multiple ways we could play this. We could go this side, we could block. I'm going to use block. And river, excuse me, having a cough here. I'm thinking we generally just want to like use like a half pot size in here. We just have like a lot of top pair in this line. I think I might even just go this size to be honest, but yeah. I think I'm going to run into aces here. I just had jack 9. Oh yeah, top left here. We see that the flop small versus recreational player. And this player, we noticed he was quite passive when he was playing defensive lines. He goes this size, and this low paired board, usually versus fish, they just like massively overbluff here. I could play like a leading strategy, it just depends whether I think this guy is like actually going to be passive or aggressive. I think I would check thinking he might be aggressive here, but he'll probably get a bit greedy when he has a really strong hand, I think. I'll probably fold to like, yeah, I was thinking like a size like this I might fold to, but it's not so big. Like, I like to look at this because I want to see how big this looks to a fish. So like, whilst he can have like boats and deuces, I can't rule out him having enough bluffs here, like with just random air floats. So we'll just call and see what develops. Yeah, and that's exactly it. If it was an overbet, I probably would have folded. But like in his, so in the defensive lines, he's quite passive. It's something I did notice when he has a value hand. So we like have that note, but then when he plays this offensive line, we're going to make a note. Anyway, we got ace king. We're going to cold 4-bet fold this hand. This is like this is basically a cold 4-bet bluff for us in this spot. The notes that I have on the guy, we have like, I mean, obviously we're noting his VP PFR. We're generally just going by what we have on the HUD here. And then I might make old as a note when like I don't have a sample on the, I don't know exactly how the smart HUD thing works, but like I've played against him before and he's had stats similar to this, although he was 3-betted more in that sample. So it's a small sample and it's an old sample. And I've put PW, that means potential whale, meaning that they could just be, a whale is just somebody that's just losing massive amounts of money. A fish is somebody who's losing, but they're not losing as much as a whale. And then I've made some notes about him passive with value. Him being passive with a very strong ace king on king deuce 3 BB versus whatever when I go like small, and then 50% is like always worth a value raise in my opinion. So when he doesn't raise, it makes, and he slow plays his hand, it's like very clear I kind of fell for his game plan by bluffing the queen 10. Like he's not going to leave himself capped basically, so we have to change our strategy versus him. Speaking of not leaving ourselves capped here on the bottom, I like a double check line here with this kind of hand, because like we kind of want to bait people, because people can like range check this spot on the button. I'm talking about down here, so we kind of want to bet people to like play their draws as a bluff here rather than realize their equity. However, what this could mean is see, now the value range here for him should just be like very good ace-x plus, basically. I do think it's very, very difficult for my opponent to find a lot of bluffs in this spot. So if he uses a huge bet, I might fold. But if it's just like 70%, you know, maybe he'll have like ace-3 suited or something, or you know, or he'll just go for it with 10-9. So we'll just see. Often people don't like to bluff this spot. Yeah, he uses an overbet here, so the range here is going to be like ace-queen, maybe ace-jack, and then just like pocket 7s, and then slow played hands like ace-7, ace-8. So like from a quote-unquote blocker perspective, this hand would obviously make a quote-unquote good bluff catch. But I just think in reality, most players just aren't going to find bluffs here enough of the time to justify calling like 37%. They need to have like over like more than 1 in 3 of their hands need to be bluffs, and I just think it's going to be much more likely that they're just not bluffing and they just don't beat value, so I just make the fold there. So on the top right here we have the ace queen, definitely a hand we're going to want to free bet an ISO with. I'm just trying to think of size and scheme. Okay, he's this size, I'll probably just go 13. You don't actually have to go super big here, because the range that we free bet is, because they're going to isolate still with like a reasonably wide range, and that, so this does actually pressure a lot of his like junky hands. So it pressures things like king jack off, king 10 off, because like so like the way I think of this spot is our free bet range is kind of more kind of like similar to what our cutoff small blind versus cutoff free bet range would be. Somewhere in between small blind versus cutoff and small blind versus hijack, basically, is what our free bet range should look like. So yeah, because this guy slow played super strong hand before, I mean I am going to bet small on this board, but I think I'm just going to try and check it down, because he showed that he was like willing to slow play his stronger hands, which means that like I think I can just get to the river here for free. I don't know, maybe it's like bad logic because he's going to check raise, but like I feel like if he just starts probing the turn and then probing the river, I don't really know where I'm at. I know it's probably like not the right way to think about the hand, but I don't know, at least I'm thinking about it. Again, we're using small flop down here on the bottom left after 3-bet pre. We turn jack. I think I will just always bet this. I don't think this is a recreational player. I think we're just going to like always bet our hand and get some value. I tried to go small here. So we obviously call down here. Here's combo draw. I guess I'll run it twice. We have jacks up here. Our hand's going to mix pre. I think I'm going to play as a 4-bet on this roll. He just donks the river. We've shown him to be quite aggressive, so we're not going to fold with his hand. Yeah, okay. Very random hand. Here we have to call. Good luck us. Oh, he just runs it once. Oh, that's pretty good news. So on the bottom left here, we actually check this flop large percentage of the time. And this is how you win 100 big blinds. You just get jacks inverse ace king. Yeah, this line is annoying because he's probe overbet. This is actually going to probably be like over bluffed. But the problem here is like this is just a type of like texture where we don't really have to like go crazy with hero calls. As like if we ever want to bluff catch ace high, we'll just have like these a plethora of like these diamond combos. Probably ace of diamonds because he's less likely to like bluff with the ace of diamonds on this board. But he will still have some. Now we're going to ISO mode again, owns the whale. We do flop a straight on my board. This can be quote unquote dangerous. I'll reset my webcam again. But I do want a value bet here. I think I'm just going to bet the turn again. There's got to be like a bunch of like 2 pairs that just like always call and pair plus 12, so I'm actually going to just size up here a little bit. And then river, we decide whether we think our hand's worth value. He's got to have a lot of like 2 pairs and pair plus draws. I just don't know if he's going to call the river. So I'm going to play this a little bit tight and check, because he's also donked when he's bluffing. But I do think he's like mainly going to have 2 pair. I could do something like this as well. But then if I get raised, it's going to be like a really annoying spot. It's probably not going to be a bluff, but it might be a chop. So we'll just check as a play as a pussy, basically. And yeah, we're just chopping, so it's fine. Yeah, we can squeeze, we can call. I prefer to just generally squeeze here. Our hand would probably do both, in theory. I just think you can get overcalled by the recreational quite a lot, and if they fold, well, this guy's range is really, really capped. Maybe if he's like gonna have like some 10s or 9s, he might play as a jam. He calls, so the range I would put him on is just like 10s, 9s, jacks, maybe like ace queen, unlikely ace jack suited, maybe stuff like this. I think we just have like a pretty good like spot to be aggressive. Probably look to triple off, unless a 10 or a 9 comes, then maybe not. Well, a 9 does come. So yeah, like, I think we could triple off and make him fold 10s. If he ever does have ace queen, we do have removal to it. It's more likely just has like this kind of hand like 10s, 9s, 8s. I'm gonna go bet check bet actually, because I think it's more likely he has a hand like if he has 9s, he won't. We can just do. Can we make 10s fold if we do this? Bet check bet line. This guy, I don't know. It's actually really hard to know, so I'm just gonna like jam the river actually as a bluff. I think I have to jam there to make 10s fold. There could also be just like some ace jack floats and stuff like that as well. I don't know. We just have no info on the guy. On the top left here, we've gone multi-way to a flop, and we're going to fold. Welcome to, we are playing live poker. Luckily we're online, so we don't have to wait another 45 minutes to get a playable hand. And on the bottom left, we have a 7 going to mostly play as a call here. Oh, we flop 2 bet. This is just, you know, you're just running well. This is ridiculous. Yeah, 10% here. We want to raise our hand at a frequency against 10%. I think that I will call on this particular occasion. Well, so down here we have aces. Aces is a very nice hand to have. Down here I am going to not slow play now and just jam the turn. I think if he has like ace queen, ace king, he just like might just call. If he has ace jack, it's whatever. People should be checking like jacks here at a frequency, but they usually don't, which is a problem when you jam. But the other problem I have is like people don't bluff this spot, so I see slow playing is less viable. So I'd rather just like get it in basically. Oh, same hand. Nothing happened with aces. So we're going to go for the ISO 3-bet here. So on the bottom left here, we have an option to ISO like this. I think this guy's wide enough that I'm going to do it, even though it's a little out of line. And I could get punished by regs. Yeah, I mean, if a fish is like 40 V pip, you know, I might not ISO that hand on the button, but yeah. Top left, quite interesting. We face an overbet on the flop here from this guy. Obviously, we're going to call. I'm going to obviously wait a little bit, then call. Turn we would, I think we could have a leading range here, but because it's ace, king, king, he just has like, we do have like these king, queen, king, jack, king X suited hands. We're backdoor flush draw, but he just has like massive nut advantage. We could have a leading range. I don't think actually we're supposed to lead that hand though, but yeah, you know, it makes some sense. So lead with your value there. Maybe, possibly, in some dimensions. If I'm in position, I might take the flop. Here on the here, we have ace jack. This would generally be a little bit of a loose squeeze, but with the presence of the fish, I am going to squeeze. Obviously, we will just fold if the rig 4-bets. It's like one of these hands that we don't really care about. But this would be pretty nice to play deep versus a fish. And here, I'm going to actually check. I'm just pot control. Although there are hands I can get value from, I think he also might bluff into me. He's already proven that he will bluff, potentially. So yeah, when he checks again, now we're just going to try and get some value from like, we're just going to try and get one street of value from like these pairs with clubs kind of hands, and then we'll just check the river back. Okay, that's pretty bad. I actually think I'll fold if he leads this time. He'd have to be pretty creative to bluff here. Like, he's already shown he will bluff random hands, but like this texture, after what I've witnessed, I think I'll just let it go on this occasion. He's a lot of like these one club hands in his range. I mean, he could have like some random draws, but I just think generally I'll just fold on this occasion. On the top right here, damn, he got me good. I'll give him that. He deserves it. I'll give him a good play. He deserves it. I thought like he would have to be creative in terms of like he turns like a jack into a bluff, but yeah, I didn't expect him to be fair. But we shall make the mental note. He's done the same line as a bluff 2 or 3 times, and he does it again, and I think, this time surely he's not no, he's bluffing. He's bluffing. We finally go post flop here. We it went open 2.2, cold call 2.2. We could go for like big ass check raise here. I do think this player probably doesn't have many good hands. I'm actually liking check raise here. I think betting is the standard play. Like often players will just show down in this line, especially recreationals will show down some like hands. But yeah, sometimes they will just lead out and bet the turn too much. Then we just go for like big check raise and then brick river or value jam. Yeah. Like he's still gonna like continue with some draws and like these kind of hands. I'm not like super desperate to get paid. I'm just, I just have a very good hand versus a fish. But it's just basically how are you going to get the money in? Oh, well, when he folds Queen 7, is it? Do I believe that this guy folded 2 pair in that line? I don't believe that. I don't believe he folded 2 pair. But if he did, then I guess what is said by Hungry Horse Poker is true. If you want to maximize fold equity, you play check raise, and if you want to maximize whatever, then you just bet. So I'll make a mental note of that in case it's true. But I don't think he folded 2 pair. We just 10% size, and we could play our hand as a raise. We could play our hand as a call. I think I'm actually going to raise on this occasion. In turn, it's deciding whether we would try and make him. We could try and like semi. Sorry, we'd like on this table. We could try and like semi bluff to try and make him fold like 8s without a heart kind of hand. Get some value from ace of hearts, but I think I'm just gonna check and decide on the river what to do. Okay, so I think on the river he will play a lot of like block, and then we just have to like kind of try and assess if we want to value jam our hand. I don't think we want to value jam. I do kind of want to value raise. The problem is if he jams on me, it would be a very annoying spot. That's all I'm going to say about it. It'd be a really irritating spot, and I would like maybe just have to call because ace of hearts is in his range. Because ace of hearts is in his range. Okay, yes, this is what I'm afraid of. It would be an annoying spot. However, you just have to sort of assess how many value combos there are here. Lots of nut flushes. There's a good percentage of them. King high flushes. So we're looking at about sort of like 20, 15 value combos. And then like the frequency on which he bluffs nut flushes has to be somewhere in the region of like, he has to like do this with ace of hearts queen, ace of hearts jack, and have like these other combos like ace of hearts queen like in there, and he has to bluff them 100% frequency. So I'm actually going to lean towards a fold here it could be a mistake, but there's just a lot of like value combos he can have here, like with flushes, and I just think he has like not enough bluff combos, like ace king and ace queen offsuit with the heart. Yeah. So make a hero fault basically. Yeah, I mean here this is a bit of a random line by what looks like a recreational player, but unlike the other guy, he seems like he might be fairly honest, so we're gonna just like let our hand go. I do think he's on like a queen here a lot of the time, and like king jack with a diamond kind of hand. And so at the bottom right here we ended up in a kind of like a weird, some ends up heads up. We didn't want to end up heads up. We just like we didn't pay attention to the table and it just died. We don't want to play heads up, so we're just going to leave the table. We did flop 2 pair here. I think on the turn, like I would just check this hand. I mean, we're not really going to fold heads up, but like, oh no, especially when we make a boat, we're not going to fold heads up. Last time this guy on the top right jammed. So when he doesn't jam, I just want to think whether I can make him fold ace queen, ace jack on the turn. I don't think it's impossible that he folds these hands. Yeah, here we will probably play a 9 as a 70% bet on the river, and then I could just like either play my hand as like an overbet, but like he's gonna have a load of flushes here that will probably check raise this, potentially, or some flushes. I think he also just has a 7 quite a lot, to be honest, or just ace high. So there's an argument between using overbet there, or like checking, or going 70, and sort of trying to balance our range. Down on the bottom of the left. So yeah, here we have free bet him pre. He's called with c bet in half. We're generally going to probably just try and bluff versus the recreational, because like usually they don't have the kind of range that can sustain a triple barrel, and and recreationals do like make hero folds. And we're gonna isolate the limp with king 9 offsuit. It's probably, we're gonna isolate kind of like a similar range to our button opening range, but we're gonna take away some of the worst hands. But I think king 9 off is just about good enough. And then here versus rec, unless he's like a really passive player, I generally just lead into like a bluff catching mode. I don't have any info on the guy, so we're just going to lead into like a line. When he double checks, now we're just going to try and get some value on the turn from like an 8, a 7, a weak pair. It is possible I could do a line like this and try and get value on the river, but like I think if I do this, I'm just going to get like more money long term. And on the top right here, we have a 6 off. We're going to check. And on the turn, we're going to probably just play a small bet. Our hand is actually probably worth a little bit more though. If we split our range, we would do this. If we did only one size, we would do this. I think I want to split my range versus him though. He's going to have like some 7s though, which is not, but like things like 7s and 8s should actually be almost 100% bets in theory. I do think he would like slow play some 10x. It's kind of a weird spot now when he raises the turn on the 10, and I've sized up a bit. I think I'm not going to fold yet, but I am going to play my hand as a call, because he will give up the river with like some draws and like weird hands like king jack off. I just have like a lot of hands here that hit the 10 and the 6. So I could have a leading range, but because he's mainly repping a 10, I don't think I'm going to have a lead with a 6. I think I'm going to check it. I would estimate that this guy would not be bluffing this spot very often at all. He'd have to be like pretty good to bluff here. And pretty creative, like with a deuce kind of player. Maybe like random hand like pocket threes, and just, you know, and just go for it basically. So yeah, I would say he's probably not bluffing. I am somewhat curious. The fact that it's a double paired river and I don't have a leading range just makes me think he just isn't bluffing. And like the sort of bluffs have to be kind of creative. In the meantime, we're coming to top right and we're just gonna hope that we get some action, and we don't. It's been a lot like this today. I've cut out a lot of hands, but like a lot of you can't really see the time that's gone by between each hand, but a lot of hands have been like this where we're just free betting a lot pre-flop, or raising, or isolating, and we're just taking it down pre, or taking it down on the flop, or we just defend the big blind and we miss. And I'm just skipping all of those hands because nobody really cares about them. We do have a hand here though. We open here, we could play a polarized strategy, we could play 2/3, we could play small with range. We like to go small with range because we're generally pretty good at it, but the unfortunate thing is, so is everyone else. Yeah. Ace 10 here, we mix this pre, I'm going to fold on this occasion. That was on a different table, sorry. We had a chance to 4-bet Ace 10. Turn we'll just play as a check. We keep it simple here, we keep it case. The river's quite a dynamic river. I think he's supposed to start turning like 9x into a bluff here in this spot. So he's going to defend the flop with like 9-6, 9-7, 9-8. They were all supposed to bluff. Maybe like supposed to like mix some hands. And when I face this line, I think this range is supposed to be ace-x. I'm actually going to raise the river as a bluff because we're going to have like a decent amount of straights in this line. And like he's going to have like 2 pair and just like ace, like ace-5, although some people just play him as checks. So yeah, we just like to bluff in this line with this kind of hand. Multiway here, we 3-bet pre, he takes a long time and then calls. We think he's a recreational player, so we're just going to see that. We're probably just going to bluff it off here. Here we basically checked with the fish in the blind. We only really wanted to build a big pot with a super strong value hand. And turn, I'm going to follow the logic. I'm going to actually raise here. A bit smaller. There's a little dynamic here going on. And down on the bottom left rack, we're still going to bluff. I do think this guy could have turned the hand like pocket 5s. And he could be playing 3s as check raise. I kind of want this guy to donk because he's just more likely bluffing when he donks. Here we make a straight with a 9. I think this is not a bluff, but I think I just beat value here, so I'll just call him. Wow. This guy's kind of crazy. We could squeeze his hand. I think I will actually squeeze his hand. Because we're going to be... This guy's going to definitely call if this guy folds. On the bottom left, I think we're good here always. I just didn't want to like jam the river. I mean, he could obviously have things like pocket 9s and stuff, and like jack 9, but like, I just think, obviously he would have snap called them, maybe jammed them. I just never think he has queen 9 there. This guy would probably have queen 9, that guy doesn't. But we're being patient. We go for a raise on the bottom left here. Sometimes, even though they're short, play it. The fish will like min donk with just like air or weak showdown in this spot a lot, and as soon as you raise them, they're like, oh, they just have it and they fold. But like, what you don't want to do is like run a multi-street bluff against the short stack player, but you can definitely bluff the flop quite aggressively because they often like commit to their hand after the flop. So it's just like something to note. If you face these min donks against these short stack players, you can still kind of go for it on the flop a little bit, because they do have this mindset of like, I'm just going to see where I'm at kind of thing, and then they'll fold like an absolute ton. On the bottom left here, I just want to donk into the recreational here because I think he'll call with ace high, and then we just want to try and basically get paid by ace high and like all the draws. So yeah, we're just going to go donk donk jam probably. Oh, this is very bad for me. But this can also just be like 10-9, 9-8, so we'll just shove. But I think he's just got 9-8 to be honest, not aces, but whatever. Oh, yeah, the min click of death is what that's called. On low SPR, I'm just not like bothered on low SPR. But like, it's definitely called the min click of death. If you face these lines and you're playing deeper stacked, and you get the min click of death, you probably want to make folds like that. When it's a 14 BB, you know, it's like a 1.5 SPR recreational player, they're most likely to jam when they're just punting, or like they have like weaker hands, they just jam because they want it in their hand, and they're more likely to min click when they don't want you to fold because they have a monster basically. That's just something to pay attention to. Whether they have like one SPR, whether they have like 10 SPR. We bet small here on the flop. We're going to go by the mantra this guy's going to slow play his value hands. So now we just have a pure check. And on the bottom left, we have ace-x. He bets 10%. We could bet, we could check. I think it would be easier to play the hand if we check. Then my hand here, I think we just, when he goes like this check line, this time we're just going to fold on the top left. This time I don't think he's bluffing. It's an ace-x board with a flash with no low blockers. I'm going to take my time there. I'm going to get not sure with, even though I'm definitely 100% folding. I'll show him the queens. He will show me if he has it or not. Usually when they don't show, they have it. And when they show, they're bluffing. Because like some of these players, especially fish, they have these egos. So they just show you when they're bluffing because they want to show that they owned you. And so if they're not bluffing, they don't show you. Okay guys, well we're gonna like sit out our tables. We need to take a little bit of a break just for a few minutes. So I'll just end the video there. I'll probably carry on my session and do a part 2. So yeah, with this Queen 8 offsuit, I'm signing off for the video this time, and I'll see you guys next time.